Well, Rovers, you are about to see me make an ocean voyage like you've never seen me make before. So to get back to Canada, Mrs. Rover and I have decided to take the Queen Mary 2 for an ocean voyage from South Hampton to New York. Now, to get to South Hampton, we had to leave Dublin this morning on a little turboprop aircraft at 0500 and arrived in Southampton around 9 o'clock. Now we're just waiting to board the Queen Mary 2. So this is a typical stateroom inside Queen Mary 2, and this of course is ours, cabin number 5069. It's a double bed, although they can make it up as two individual beds. We have an office space, TV, a sitting area, and then there's an ensuite right here. Well, Rovers, we are on the Queen Mary 2 and we are getting ready to go to the Britannia dining room for our first dining experience of this voyage, and really looking forward to it. Dressed up nicely for it. It's actually casual night, which means dress nicely with a jacket and collared shirt. The tie is just an extra. You know how we go that extra mile on Wave Rover. So just about to enter the Royal Court Theatre. So we're just on our way to Illuminations, which is the ship's cinema. We're going to see a movie. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the grand lobby of the Queen Mary 2. So we're currently underway. We are probably about 200 miles south of Ireland right now. The wind is west-southwest, and we're steering a west-southwest course with an apparent wind of 35 knots. It's a Beaufort scale 5, and I'm going to show you the seas right away. And I know what you're going to say, Alan, that's not force 5, but it's just the way the camera records things. And we're going up to force 10 by this evening. We have to go through a bit of a heavy weather in order to get out to the open sea. So enjoying this. This is, simply put, the nicest foul weather gear I've ever worn. So what do you do on the Queen Mary, you might ask? Well, I'm off to see a lecture at the Illuminations Theory. I'm off to see a lecture at the Illuminations Theater, and it's about maritime history, the Titanic in particular. Well, Rovers, it is formal night tonight on the Queen Mary 2. We're just getting ready to go down to the main dining hall. There's theater afterward. Anyway, it is now about force 7, maybe force 8, and we will be peaking out somewhere around force 9, force 10 in the next 2 to 3 hours. It's interesting how some of the passengers are finding this rough, but just let me say, in comparison to Wave Rover in these conditions, this is rock steady. Here's Mrs. Rover taking her seat.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, what do you think? Would you like to be out sailing on Wave Rover in this weather?
Not on Wave Rover, no thank you. Maybe on the Carnivore too, but not Wave Rover.
Well, it's the next day. We probably have seas that are about 3 meters, and the wind is probably blowing about 20 to 25 knots. And we have a bit of swell that was generated from the winds that we've had over the last 18 to 20 hours. It's kind of impressive, but the ship is so steady, you know, it's, people, a lot of passengers think the movement is pretty great, but I don't think they have anything really to judge it by. It's an impressive ship. It's, as the designer said yesterday, there's no other ship that can handle weather as well as this ship, and I think he's right. In the same weather, when I was back in the Navy on destroyers, we'd be bouncing all over the place at this point. And certainly Wave Rover would have been dancing all over these waves. Totally different scenario, of course, but nonetheless, it's great to be back at sea. But we've just left our stateroom and we're on our way to the captain's reception. This should be fun.
There will be champagne.
Brings you luck if you find it. just taking one of the marvelous elevators from deck 2 to deck 7 to meet Mrs. Rover for coffee. Cheers.
Cheers.
We're just on our way to compartment G32. We're off to meet the American ambassador to Qatar, because that's just the kind of thing you do on the Queen Mary 2. G32, it's a nightclub. It's named after the type of steel used to build the Queen Mary 2.
I don't have much faith in democracy if
in terms of such things as steps that certain states have taken to make it more difficult, if not to suppress the vote, the counting.
It's just terrific. You know, we have these warm temperatures. We've got some strong winds. They look a whole lot stronger than they are on account of we're powering into them at about 23 knots right now. We probably have about 15 knots of wind. We've got great seas. I'll show you that right now. So the Queen Mary 2 has been very understanding about me wanting to eat carnivore on board. I've been a bit remiss in filming everything that they've brought on board to me, but this is oxtail consomme. I just had the duck breast, and I'll film the next dish that comes along. So this is the main. It is leg of lamb, and boy, they gave me a really nice portion. Now, of course, if you weren't a carnivore, it would come with vegetables and a whole bunch of other things. Anyway, bon appetit. Now, we just finished supper, so it is time for dessert, and we have chocolate cheesecake. And now, just to wash everything down, a Wave Rover buttered coffee.
Forge your own adventure.
Well, Rovers, you might be wondering, how does this factor in with my Rover frugality, being on a ship that clearly, has a certain expense about it, a certain elegance about it? Well, it goes something like this. Traveling on the Queen Mary is twice the cost of traveling by cramped Air Canada across the Atlantic. But during that time, 8 days in the crossing, we are staying in what I would describe as almost luxury for only fractionally more. But if you factored in the cost of the luxury, stateroom in a hotel and fancy meals such as we're getting, 3 or more times a day, there's actually endless room service to the stateroom. Well, I mean, the cost of that would greatly be so far more than the cost of the Queen Mary. So that's how I factor it, and I actually think Mrs. Rover truly deserves this for her support as we continue on with Rover's adventure.
experiences.
Are you ready for the last night?
I am.
So this is the last meal of the voyage. It's roast sirloin. They've been very good to me. They've given me extra big portions on account of I'm being carnivore and there's no starches or vegetables. And then let's look at Mrs. Rover's.
Mine's prettier. It has vegetables.
Bon appetit. Well, Rovers, our adventure has come to an end. Queen Mary 2 is now tied up at the Brooklyn Pier after crossing the Atlantic in 8 days. So, in short, crossed the Atlantic this past summer on Wave Rover 2, and now crossed the opposite direction with Mrs. Rover on the Queen Mary 2. As always, Rovers, thanks for watching and forge your own adventure.